Hello, boys. Welcome back to another episode with the one and only Evil Hazard. Today, my lovely months of victims, we shall read the Creepypasta Dead Bart. Whereas the story is here to read. But as you might not know it, Evil Hazard was haste this time. He has more souls to collect, including yours. So I'm gonna quit waste your time any further, and I shall begin the reading of Dead Bart. Ah, yes. You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes. Because it counted a couple of them, but he made the episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from season 1. Finding details about this episode is difficult. No one was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it, or has been pieced together. Last episode was written entirely by Matt Groening, that sick, twisted fool. I wish I was working on him. Ha 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 ha. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioned as anyone who was present results in finding them very angry. And for being you, ever mentioned it to Matt. I first heard of an event where David Silverman was speaking. Someone in the crowd asked him about this episode, and Silverman simply left the stage and did his presentation hours early. The episode's production number was 7G06. The title was Dead Bart. The episode labeled 7G06. Mona Lisa was later given Dead Bart's production codes to hide the letter's existence. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who was on the show about this would cause them, they would do everything they can do to stop you from directly communicating to Matt Groening. The jerk was my first subject. He's such a pointless, puny fool. I will kill him later. And a fan, even I managed to follow him after he spoke into the crowd, and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone as he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I followed him, probably expected a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. I mentioned the last episode though, all color drained from his face, and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like that he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me to mention the episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I'd rather not say what it was for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser, and I came to a site that was completely blank, except for a line of yellow text, a download link. I clicked on it, and the file started downloading. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I've ever seen. System Restore didn't work. The entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this though, I copied the file into a CD and tried to open it on my empty computer. I was suspected there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off like any other episode, but the way the poor quality animations. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, was similar but less stable. The first act was very normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier. Marge seemed depressed. Lisa seemed anxious. Bart seemed to have a genuine anger and hatred for his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fully wrong as expected. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out. Ha 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 ha. Oh, delightful. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animation style of The Simpsons were representing life, and that death turned things more realistic. As was used in the episode, the picture of Bart's corpse was very unrecognizable. He took full advantage of it not having moved and made an almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body. Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table, crying. The cry went on, and it got more pain and sounded more realistic. Better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay, even more as they cried, and you can hear a murmur in the background. The characters could be made out. They were stretchy and blurry. They looked like deformed shadows with random bright colors thrown on them. There were faces looking in the window, flashing in and out, so you would never be sure what they looked like. This crying went on for all of Act 2. When Act 3 opened with a title card saying 1 year had passed, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin, still sitting at their table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked through the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of his tombstone, looking just like at the end of Act 1. Family started crying again, but they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summaries, Homer told a joke at this part. There is an audio, but on the version I saw, you can't tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out on the episode came too close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest stars on them, so that no one had heard in 1989. Some that haven't been on the show yet. All of them had their death dates on them. For guests who died, things like Michael Jackson and George Harrison. The dates were where they would die. The credits were completely silent and it seemed handwritten. The final image was the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but all drawn and hyper-realistic, like the style of Bart's corpse. A thought occurred to me. Seeing the episode for the first time, you could try to use a tombstone to predict the death of the living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All their deaths are listed as the same date. Ha ha ha! Oh, that was truly delightful. Oh, Dead Bart. I used to be feared and recognizable. I remember the day when I saw it in Oblivion. I was truly happy. One of the best episodes. Well, I hope you enjoyed.